It started out as just another normal day in the life of Wolfie Terrier.
Oh my God, Wolfie! Huples, quick, I need help, he's been bitten.
Don't worry, Kitty and Wolfie. I have my pet first aid kit here and I will save the day. Wolfie wasn't hurt at all, maybe his dignity damaged a little bit. The screaming went from Wolfie's dressing change video after he had to have his toe amputated. We had 2 ICU nurses, it was difficult. Yes, good chicken, look at that face of happiness. So far we're getting nowhere. So far Wolfie, how's it going? Well, it's going the way I expected. Certificate of Courage and Bravery. Seeing much of that today.
This is all stuck to
I know, it needs to,
I don't know, this is I'm gonna have to pull it off of him.
So just do it quick.
He's really not gonna like it.
Yeah, just do it quick. I have him. It's okay, Wooly. Be brave. Think of America.
Good little boy. He's a very, 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 very good. Oh, puff.
So would this make it easier? I saw it and I thought I had to get it. It is unopened. That is the contents list. It's fairly bulky actually, considering it's a $20 Canadian kit. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you're better off having a good substantial human first aid kit and using that on your pets. But we'll find out if there's anything different. This is one of my kits, got various bits and pieces on it. Fairly confident I could help Wolfie with this. If Wolfie has a massive trauma or severe burns, I'm going to use this as well. All first aid kits should have gloves on the outside of the pack, so you can put the gloves on before you open the pack to avoid contaminating the insides with bloods from the casualty. And you should be very familiar with the contents. Alright, let's see if we can save Wolfie. On opening, this is what you're faced with. Cold pack, a decent cling bandage for a pet. I actually do recommend this for human children and for pets. A light. We'll see if that works. Yes, it does. The gloves, these should be on the outside of the pack. Cotton tips, not sure about them. Really okay scissors. Some cling, some smaller cling, really cheap tape. This is only last 5 seconds. Alcohol towels, 5 of them. Antiseptic wipes, 3 of them. Hand sanitizer to clean up after you've done the job. Moist towelettons, 3. A survival blanket to stop Wolfie going into shock. Extremely thin gauze, but this is not going to last 5 seconds and it's pretty much useless. It's far too thin. We'll get into this because it's important. Again, very thin gauze pads. This is not really going to stop much bleeding. They do have 2 absorbent pads. Again, thin, but I do kind of like these because these have backing on one side and you put the shiny side down and it stops it sticking to the fur and them. Just 1 ABD pad, abdominal pad. Not bad. For those people who don't know, the blue lines on this sort of stuff is in case you put it inside the human body and forget about it during surgery and it shows up on x-ray. Pretty cheap tweezers. I'd actually recommend a better tick removal tweezer than that. So for $20 Canadian, about 15 American plus tax, about $17 American, that's actually not a bad kit for a human being. It's actually cheaper than the human ones in terms of what you get inside it. I'd be much more comfortable using that pet kit on myself and Kitty than I would on the last kit we got. A first aid kit. But this was $10.99 plus tax, so I figured I'll buy it. Let's have a look at it. I recommend Adventure Medical kits or something similar, something you're actually going to spend quite a considerable amount of money on, that's actually designed to be carried around in backpacks and to be abused. So the highlights, this gauze, I've got quite a bit of this now. You don't really need it if you've got plastic tape or proper hospital tape for a human being who's an adult, but for a kid who's going to worry at the bandage, or a dog particularly, or a cat, this kind of bandage is a really good idea. Can be rewashed, can be reused. This is absolutely a brilliant idea. You treat your casualty and you put this on him in case he runs off at night. Girl dogs don't run off at night because they're too smart. Fairly decent attachment point. I'd like to have about 5 to 10 of these, but it's good that they have one. These will control skin wounds. They will not control deep wounds, but at least you get it covered and it's going to bleed through anyway. Don't remove any dressings that you put on a bleeding animal or human being until you're in a controlled situation with extra stuff to put back on it. Doesn't matter if the blood's showing, what matters is it's covering the entire area. I never thought about doing this for a dog, but I guess it sort of in some ways makes sense. Shock is a major issue and this slightly helps with shock. First of all, find your casualty. Hey Wolfie, everything's okay. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you. Everything's gonna be fine. But your dignity is going to be ruined. Open the pack. Keep this for fire tinder if it's an SHTF. This is a very thin, cheap one, which is actually probably a good idea. And what you do with it is you get it so the shiny side is down towards the dog, because you want to reflect the heat of the dog back to him so he's in shock. And then you wrap him like a little turkey, and you might want to use the tape for that. I'm not going to continue because little Wolfie would not be thrilled. Cheap, but not as cheap as a lot of them you find useful. If your hands are dirty, clean your hands. Put the gloves on. If your hands aren't dirty, put the gloves on. Use a wipe to clean, if time is of the essence. If not, wash your hands with soap and water, do it properly. Examine the area, have a very good look at it. You should have a flashlight for this, have a very, very good look at it. You're going to need at least one other person to hold them down, depending on the size of the animal. They give you 3 different ways of cleaning the wound. Which one would you use and why? This is external use only. Do not put it on open flesh. It hurts like heck and it won't help and it will kill the flesh. It's good for cleaning off the blood from the fur, it's good for a whole bunch of things, but that is not the priority when they're injured. This is iodine, so as long as your dog doesn't have a shellfish allergy, you can use this. And if you don't have a shellfish allergy, remember that. That's why you need to have gloves on. This will go inside the wound, thoroughly clean it out, and then does not stay in the wound. Clean up only, don't put this inside the patient. This is for clean up only of your hands, your gear, and also away from the wound. In theory, I'd probably more use this as a fire starter. The problem with these, they break really easily. You don't want to get that lost inside the animal. These are designed for single use in hospital settings, so you'll have to sharpen it if you want to repeatedly use it. It does have a blunt end, which is a really good idea. Stops you jabbing the end of the scissors in the dog or into yourself, because you will be stressed. Cheap tape, better than nothing. Remember, if you go completely around the limb, you can cut off the blood supply, especially the venous blood return, so do not go completely around any limb or the body. Wolfie will not tolerate a cold pack strapped to his head because he has swelling. You all ought to know this stuff. Airway, Heimlich, breathing, circulation. A+, this is a really good booklet. You'll be able to see it at the end and you can look at it and print it out. The edited highlights for me as an RN ICU nurse. Do not overextend the neck in cases where there's been blunt force trauma. Important for humans as well. Remember, you're panic stricken, they're not breathing and there's no pulse or there's no breathing and pulse, so you're absolutely terrified. Little Wolfie's down. Little Wolfie's dead, remember that. Wolfie's dead. I'm trying to bring him back to life if I can, but the stress of it isn't to stop him from dying, the stress is to bring him back to life. If he's choking on something and he can't breathe, I do the Heimlich maneuver. If his heart then stops, I do not start to do CPR, I continue with the Heimlich maneuver until the obstruction is cleared. At that point, I might start CPR if he still has no pulse. Whatever the reason, if you're trying to put air into the dog and it won't go in, you need to stop and go back to airway. They mentioned this one a couple of times and it's important, and it's the same is also true for the human casualty. An unresponsive, comatose dog or cat or human being can bite you by reflex if you're inside their mouth. Be aware of that. They do not have to be conscious to bite. They tell you to stay calm. Even an unconscious animal can sense stress from its owner. So what you need to do is open kits like this, practice with it, think about it, put yourself mentally in those scenarios. So if the scenario happens, and often they happen out of the blue, you're ready for it. This is really important. I definitely know this for human beings as well. Your body language is vitally important. Take your time, don't jab at them. Be very, very calm in your body movements and relaxed as far as you can in your posture. Keep your voice obviously calm, keep it very relaxed, but sound firm. If they're trying to tug away from you, go, do not tug, Wolfie. Everything's going to be fine, just relax. But don't expect cooperation. If your dog has had an airway or Heimlich or CPR done, you should transport to an emergency vet if available. This gives you a list of stuff to tell the vet. This stuff is also important to tell the emergency department if it's a human casualty. Now, I'm not going to practice this on Wolfie because he's really very intolerant of anything. We have practiced this on the Bull Terriers. We've had a few issues over the years with swelling of the throat because of eating the wrong things from some of the Bull Terriers. So we have done quite a bit of this stuff, and we have often used Heimlich modified gentle to actually get the dog to expel stuff in the mouth that they're trying to eat that we really don't want them to. This is definitely single use. Limited use in my opinion. I'd rather have a stronger one than this, so maybe just use it for rain protection or even as a ground mat while you're treating the animal. This should go in the pack, but you should have read this at least a couple of times before you need to use it. Not a bad kit, it's got extra room in it. You can put more ABD pads in this quite easily. Decent kit. As I said, gloves should always go on the outside of your first aid kits, not on the inside, ever. You will absolutely panic, you will absolutely have blood and stuff on yourself, and you absolutely will contaminate the inside of the kit, parts of the kit you're not going to use. So elastic bands are good, just rip them off, easy done. And also elastic bands useful for attaching the survival blanket to Wolfie. Just adding 3 things to the pack. My Pocket Box tick remover, much better than those tiny tweezers, I'm not really keen with them. And a Pocket Box clamp and spare shoelaces. Cordage is good, this makes for an improvised leash. That's important. Wolfie would like to thank everybody who's reported me to the SPCA. That's it for me. I hope your dog and cat are prevented from ever having a serious issue. But I do live in bear and moose and coyote and fox area, and the little terrier often is outside with a leash on, but occasionally is not. And we're very careful of this at dawn and dusk and at night, but you never know. Something could happen. He could easily fall off a rock. He's not that smart, but he's very lovable. So take care of the ones you love. And if you have this or a product like this available, it's actually not bad, and the contents is not bad for the price. I think this is favourably comparable to related human kits at the same price range. Have a great day, thanks for watching. Toodles. This has been a Wolfie Terrier reviewing a product he doesn't want to use, production 2023.
I think that's all he's got in him, dear. Sorry.
The main actress decided no longer to be in the play.